over here, Joe. Over here. It's 7:30.
This meeting is being recorded.
Yeah, Joe, over here.
Oh, you want me over there?
Yeah, Joe. Big camera, big boy here. The director of lighting services.
That's right. Okay, I want to welcome everybody to our March meeting. In the future, we're hoping to get back at the Arboretum. And I know, Shirley, you've been on top of that. And so as soon as we find out, if we can get people, let us know if they're going to make the meeting so we can start lining up presenters. And we can, what is it, 25%, Tom, that we can get in that room? Yeah, 25%, which is basically what we usually have anyhow, with our roster and everything. So, and of course, we'll be 6 feet away, and on snacks, there'll have to be individual snacks, individually wrapped, like you buy the small bags of chips or the cookies that are individually wrapped. All kinds of, usually the drinks are, bottled water, Cokes and stuff like that. So no cakes, nothing that has to be cut and served, especially no fruit.
No persimmon cookies?
So there's a, kind of a food restriction there. But other than that, oh, I said food restriction. So if we have, when we go back and have snack, everything has to be individually wrapped. So any kind of, any kind of snack that has individual portions like you would take for a lunch, like Kudo bars or, like I said, Famous Emmy's cookies, stuff like that. So that's okay to do, because then you can take it back with you and you're not sharing. Nobody's touching anything. So
Shirley, we'll probably send a survey out to our members to see who want to come back for face-to-face.
Yeah, because it'd be nice if we get some kind of a head count, because I don't want to have a presenter there and we only have like 5 people, because it's not going to be, cost effective for the club. So it'd be nice if we have, once we know, I'm thinking they're going to open up hopefully in July. I think everything's going to be pretty much open in July, but we don't know for sure. So. Yeah.
I think that's it.
Okay.
Right. I'll come over there.
Okay.
We're about 3 minutes early still.
Okay. Yeah, we'll trade seats again. Tom is going to be our presenter tonight, and he's going to be working on a Trident Maple. I'll let him tell you what he's going to do.
Thanks, Joe. Let me plug in really quick. Audio a little better?
Yes.
Perfect. So welcome everybody. I know we're a little early. Again, we just want to prepare, just in case we go to face-to-face, we'd like to know who's willing to come down to do face-to-face. And of course, if you're not willing to come down to face-to-face, we'll still have a Zoom meeting. It won't be recorded though, because if we do face-to-face, I most likely be recording the meetings live at the Arboretum. So we'll need at least a head count so we can know, how to prepare for the next couple months. Especially, it's kind of exciting. We're going face-to-face. Go for it, Gus.
No, I was just saying, count me in. I want to show up.
Okay. He said count me in.
We'll put a survey. We'll probably put I'll probably just put a Google form survey together really quick. It's just a head count of who's willing to come in. I know some of you guys are, even with the shot, you guys are still kind of hesitant. Totally understand. It's like us going back to work. But we just want to make sure we're prepared and we have at least a great idea of how to move forward, especially in most likely probably June, July is where we're going to probably open up. So that's kind of where we're looking at this point in time. Okay. I know we do have some new members online right now. If you guys, I can't hear you in the chat, I'm sorry. But if you'd like to talk really quick right now, I know we have two people are brand new. Joe, you want to, Tom and, it was Tom and Nadine, if I'm correct. And then we have a John Eggert, I think. If you guys want to just quickly introduce yourself, where you kind of live, how you found our club, before we start tonight. I'll give you a couple minutes right here.
You need to turn the microphone on. Their microphones are off.
Then you're on. Can you guys hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me, Tom?
Yeah, can you guys hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay, so just real quick, Tom and then Noreen, the husband and wife, we did contact each other, and we just filled out members. Looking forward to it. We're really person meeting. We're okay with that. So that's about it.
You're okay with what?
On
We're coming in person.
in person.
Okay.
Yeah.
John Eggert.
That's me, Linz.
Hey, how you doing?
How you doing, bud?
Great.
How's
I
it
don't
going?
see your. Do you have your pajamas on? I don't see you.
I am in.
Hey, buddy.
I'm either sitting in my swimming trunks or my underwear, Lindsay. I don't.
Okay. I don't want to see
Depending on what you make of it. No, no. George is picking the camera right now.
There's no
So
video.
yeah, it's better. I don't want to cause any fear and loathing among the Baikoen by having a camera.
So
So
you guys aren't meeting yet, are you?
say again.
You guys aren't meeting yet.
I don't understand you. We aren't.
Are you guys meeting yet in person at your club?
No, not yet. No, we're still Zooming, which is working good, I think. I mean, I like it pretty well. We'll have a meeting on Saturday, workshop on Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. If anybody's interested, I don't know if you'd be interested in checking it out, anybody or not, but you can go to our this is the Albuquerque Bonsai Club I'm talking about. Anyway, you can go to our Facebook page, or you could write to me and I can send you the Zoom information. And my email is bonsaitrain, BONSAITRAIN @MSN.com. So anyway, we do our workshops on the third Saturday, and our meetings on the first Saturday, but we are not in person yet. And
Okay.
and I don't know when we will be. Saves me on gas, so I don't have to drive up to Albuquerque.
Yeah, that's true.
No, we've had good luck with the Zoom. We've had good luck with it.
Good.
So did these guys introduce themselves, the new people?
Yes.
So Michael Roberts is here.
Good.
Thank you, guys.
All right, I'm going to be behind the cameras. I'm going to kind of be directing it behind, so it'll be kind of interesting. So these are two types of the same, two different locations. So depending on your, well, I'm sorry, tonight we're going to look at Japanese maple spring care, and especially in Southern California, which is slightly different from the rest of the US right now, because the rest of the US is still, at this point in time, they're still covered in snow. So unlike Southern California, we have 80-degree weather already for a couple days. So some of your maples may look like this guy right here. I left this guy in the full sun, just kind of do some experimentation with sunlight. This is full sun for the last 4 months. That guy has been in shade, almost full shade with partial sun in the afternoon for about 3 months. So total different growth patterns. So you can actually start delaying growth depending on your condition. So this is something to think about, especially when you have finished bonsai, when you have to kind of push back. So let me give you an idea. So let me start zooming in here. If Joe, there's questions in the chat, you might want to read it. Right now we're getting feedback, so we can't really hear anybody really clearly. But if you want to put your question in the chat, be great. So this is a Japanese maple, been growing vigorously. I've fed it, and that's kind of important for everybody here to understand that If you have a growing bonsai, especially Japanese maple, and you want it to push growth, feeding it during the fall, right before it goes dormant, is really key to have really healthy bonsai. That's something I learned from Ed. And he uses a slow release fertilizer. That's something for you guys to think about. This is a Shishi Ohime. So for what Ed says, the difference between Kiyohime is the red on the Japanese maple stays a little longer. What you'll notice from spring growth, let me see if I can zoom this in really close, which is really interesting if you haven't just watched these things grow. They'll grow these inner nodes, and they'll keep growing until around, in my case, in Pomona and out in Upland, it'll grow for about up to April, and it'll finally harden enough in April. So this is still soft and tender, but the initial growth grew from this initial point right here. Okay, let me see if I can zoom in a little more, pick up different. So in this growth, I pushed back all the way from back here. So this is this year's growth. So the node came from here, it grew all the way out to here. If I don't do anything with this node, it will continue growing until this terminal bud is pinched. Okay, so it depends on what you want to do your bonsai right now. Okay, so you got to start thinking: do you have a finished bonsai which is ready to display, or do you still have a growing tree? So both of these trees are still growing. They're not ready for display. They don't have the ramification and thickness that I'm looking for. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to want these trees to really, in this place, just grow out. And then around April, when these things kind of harden up, I'm going to trim it back down to the first two inner nodes. So, so if this was spring, in around April, in a month or so, when these guys kind of harden out, I'm going to cut it back to the very first node. Okay. The reason why I'm doing that is I want to stop that growth a little bit. And secondary is I want that ramification to occur. And the only problem if you cut it this late, or actually cut it later, is these inner nodes. You can see this. You can see that now? That inner node gets really long. And that's the problem with Japanese maples. Japanese maples only will have growth from the little nodes in between and nothing in between. So if I cut right here, the next bud will grow from that junction down there. Nothing will grow in between here. So that's kind of the problem. And what Japanese practitioners from Japan have figured out that if you pinch it really early, so if you pinch it really early, so let me zoom into this bigger tree. If you look at this bigger tree, so this is kind of the reason what Japanese practitioners do, and they'll spend a good 2-3 weeks on this every day, and their job is to, and these apprentices, their job is to find the first pair, and they're going to pluck this entire center out. And what that does is it stops that inner growth length. I've done this a couple of times to a couple of trees already. Let me cut this node out. So if you pinch this growth, the center growth out here, this entire growth stops growing and your inner node becomes extremely short. I'll show you where some of the trees I've done that to point. So this inner node right here, I did that for last season. So some of these areas where you have high energy growth, which would be the top of the tree, especially in Japanese maple, okay? Anything on the outer canopy will have this really extensive growth. And that's the area you want to kind of pinch back. Okay, let me try this. I'll show you again one more time. You need to put your glasses on. I'm sorry, this is one of the non-fun part of Japanese maples. That if you want that really short inner node, It's a necessity. And what Japanese practitioners do, and I've been reading this and talking to Kaya and a lot of people in Japan, is they'll spend weeks doing just what I did right there. And the problem is they don't all flush out the same time. So you might have to come back 3 or 4 times in a single setting to pluck up every single one of these center terminal buds. Okay, so that's what the first thing they do. Can you imagine doing that for the entire tree? That's what they do. I mean, they literally have these apprentices do this day in, day out for the next couple of weeks until they have all these buds pulled out. Right. I would do this to this tree, probably the top of the canopy when I get a chance. And then another great part to do in springtime right now is any cross branches or any branches structurally that you can see, you might want to trim back. For example, just because you can see it. If you look at my apex, so when I bought this tree about 4 years ago, we had a branch back here. Let me kind of walk back here. Yes. See the back of the tree here. There was actually a branch back here in this area that was growing in the wrong direction. So what I did is I chopped it off, and now what I'm doing is trying to wait for that area to ramify in. But what I did is I actually let this whole area kind of grow in length, and you can see the length of those inner nodes. So I never cut these back in the center, just kind of fill that hole in. But now there's areas that need to be cut back. So during springtime, right before the leaves pop out fully, you have a great idea to see the structure, and you kind of know when branches are not dead. Like, for example, I got this branch back here that's growing into the canopy, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take that out, just because I'm trying to thin out at this point too. You'll notice the bigger the canopy gets, the lower branches, in this case, okay, will start dying out. Lack of oxygen, lack of air, lack of sunlight. That's really big here. So if you look at some of my lower branches, I've been really working on this tree with the lower branches, just because this canopy is so huge. And if you look at this little friend next to it, it looks like that in about 2 weeks. Okay, when it's full out and has a full canopy, there's really no light that penetrates inside, and that's where you get that inner dieback. So the really key in this case is in the next about a month, I'm going to go back and I'm going to show you exactly what I'm going to do with this small tree right now. But what you need to do is you have to get some light and some air back into that canopy before this inner growth dies out. Let me turn this tree around. So this small branch in the back, I've been nursing that for the last 3 years. So this branch in the back, nice pad in the background, it's hidden underneath this entire canopy. Okay, if you look carefully, it is literally hidden behind that entire canopy, shaded out. So what I do basically is I'll trim every single thing above it to have down to 2 pairs. So I'll cut that inner node off. So let's review really quick. So I have that entire length and a Japanese maple. I'll cut to the first inner node, okay? And then what I'll do again is I'll cut out of the 2, down to 1. That does a couple things. It lets air penetrate into the canopy. It lets sunlight, which is really important, penetrate the canopy. If the tree is really strong, I'll sometimes do that just to get more light into it. There's other techniques you can use to get more light into your tree. So some people will do what we call the folding technique. They actually will fold the leaves in half. cut it like that to get more sunlight into those trees. So that's what they do. I talked to Ed, and Ed doesn't do this just because he has so many trees. But I've been trying that technique on this tree. It works really well, especially if you need to get a lot of sunlight into the tree. Lindsay actually has a better technique. And Peter Chan actually does this too. Yeah, Lindsay's all listening now. What he does is this. And he does this with his trident maple, and it's tried and true, and it works really well. When you have so many trees or have so much canopy and you can't get to it, sometimes it's plucking it. I know it's not pretty. I know it is literally not pretty to just randomly pluck, but what you're doing is you're getting more and more of that sunlight into that tree. So it works with Japanese maple. I've done it with this tree before. I've done it with the bigger tree before. But if you're running out of time and you don't have that patience, I sometimes don't have this patience to do it. I will literally go in and start what we call just random plucking to speed up that process. I know some people are cringing out there watching this, but it works. It's almost like the hedging method, but you're literally trying to open enough it opens enough air to get into that tree, and that's really important in that case. I'm gonna let this kind of go. What I really try and do is I try to really open that the top of the canopy first, just because it's so dense, and then I'll kind of leave the bottom ones just to have a little more growth. And the stronger you leave the bottom of your trees, you're gonna have these stronger growth, especially some of these branches. If you look at some of this padding, especially you can appreciate it right now, they're extremely strong. And then I can literally cut back to it. So if this tree gets way too far out, I have the ability to cut back into the canopy when I have to. So that's kind of the advantage of keeping those lower branches really strong. Listening to Michael Roberts, I know you're here, Michael Roberts. He does this with his elms. He lets those bottom branches really grow out to have that photosynthetic background. So it gives them the ability for those trees to really grow. And then he says, when the trees have the ability to understand that they're providing energy for the tree, it will keep those branches alive. Any questions about Japanese maple and about pinching?
I'd like to add something. Can I add something?
Go for it.
I just want to clarify. I don't randomly pluck trident maples. I go through and pluck the ones that need it first, and then I go back again and pluck the next ones. But I use my fingers and my fingernails and pluck out what I need to pluck out. And if you wait too long, then you can't do that. You have to, because the stem gets too strong, and you have to use a little pruner. But if you get it at the right time, you can pluck it with your fingernails. And then the other thing about the light, like you have these inner branches, right, that need light. Well, the inner branches, if you could remove the foliage that's going down from an upper branch, then that'll give it light for the lower branch. So that's, I do that a lot to encourage light development inside.
So Tom, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
So talk a little bit about your feeding schedule during all of this process too.
Feeding schedule.
Oh, I have the lazy man feeding schedule. So I have everything on slower release every about 3 months. So if you guys know, I'm a teacher and I just moved. So how I keep everything kind of straight with my feeding schedule is I use Grow Power. I think it's a 12 slow release with micronutrients every 3 months. So when I change my filter on the house, I throw fertilizer on the tree. So it's easy way of remembering for me. And I use I think it's an organic mixture, but I do fertilize with a mere acid, which is the Miracle-Gro one, just because my water in Pomona, I haven't tested the water here yet in Upland, but the Upland, Pomona water was about like in the summertime, almost 8. And during the winter time, it would go down to about a 7.4. So it was really on the alkaline side.
So you're using Grow Power. And by the way, you told me that Grow Power was 1288.
Oh, is it 1288? It's one of those numbers.
Yep, that's fine. That no big deal. And then Ed's using Apex, which other people I've heard use that too. That's 22, 6, and 12, which is pretty hot.
Well,
But
but he's
uses it
remember
really
he's doing on a
sparingly.
commercial level. I think Lindsay, you use a what is it
Ammonium phosphate? Yeah, for maples. For maples. But I have an Apex that's 14 for a lot of the other things.
What's the price range on the Apex? Because I hear it's like, because the Grow Power one that I use is like $40 for a 50-pound bag, I think.
Apex, the 14 lasts about 3 months.
So
And
are you sure that
a 50-pound bag is about $80.
Yeah. Are you sure that's not Osmocote?
No, it's called Apex.
Okay.
That's the one with the little black balls, or it's like,
yes,
I used to have it.
Yeah. Ed has a different Apex, but mine's
I think he uses that commercial brand, or not commercial, a commercial available one versus a residential one.
That's what mine is.
Okay, so you fertilize like late in the year, in late October, first part of November. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. So usually when I change my filter, which is probably where the equinox hits, that's when I kind of fertilize. Okay. So it'll be December 21st, March 21st, which is coming around the corner right now. July. I forgot one of those 2 dates, and then again in September 21st.
So every 3 months. And
every 3 months.
And do you time your pruning when you're fertilizing?
Say it one more time.
So do you time your fertilizing to when you prune? So
I don't. Again, this is, for me, it's a schedule so I can remember. But if I really had my way and I really had the time, I would basically be I'll be fertilizing after the push. And again, if how they talk about growth management in Japan is they really let the trees kind of push out first, use that the inside energy first. Because if you fertilize before it pushes, the problem is you're going to get longer growth, longer internodes, and more coarser growth. And something in a finished bonsai you may not want. But if you're looking for a developing tree that you want a thinker branch, or you want something with a little more quicker ramification, fertilizing before it grows out, that might be an advantage. So it really depends on what you want to do. But I'm right now on the survival mode right now. So I'm just kind of having my routine. So just kind of get myself just fertilizing. And that's really important. I noticed that if you go to some of these shows, some of the trees are really weak. It's just because they haven't been fed, especially when their pots this small. I mean, there's not much nutrients other than what they're producing photosynthetically.
This is John Eggert. What's your soil mix for Japanese maple?
For bonsai in small pots or in my growing pots?
Let's say bonsai, in your bonsai pots.
So bonsai pots, I've been using, I've been trying Boone's mix, which is the one third Akadama,
we're using that a lot
Scoria,
here,
and pumice.
Yeah, it's gotten real popular among the New Mexicans too.
It's consistent, but it needs a lot of watering. So
right,
that's kind of the only drawback. But I'm a heavy waterer, so I like watering. That's kind of my thing. But if I was really like concentrating on my soil mix and really wanted that equilibrium, I probably go to almost a 50-50 Akadama and pumice. But you kind of play with that soil chemistry, it gets kind of whacked out. So I'm kind of going with the boom mix just because I know it works, but it just needs a lot more water than you would assume. For my growing mix, I'm pretty cheap. I use a perlite and 50%. What is it? Was it greenstone? Lindsay, what's that one compost mix that
Cactus-
you have or used
Cactus
to have?
potting, the cactus potting soil.
Yes, the cactus one.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the one
Yeah.
I use just for them growing. So this is what this guy's growing in. So that one went from a 15-gallon can, and then it was cut in half, cut in a quarter, and then it jumped into this small container here.
Yeah, I live in very difficult maple growing country, and our trees here seem to appreciate a bunch of shredded sphagnum, that good sphagnum. I shred a lot of sphagnum into my soil. And I also have to, I'll sneak, I'm so old school, that not having a little organics in there, it bugs me. So I'll mix some soil, a little bit of soil, or sand also is good for us here, because we have like zero humidity periodically. I mean, like 5-10% is common, on 110 degrees. Not exactly maple country, but
do you put sphagnum in the mix or on
I do.
top of your soil?
No, I think, doesn't Neil put it on top? I mix it in. I sit out there and shred up that good reptile bedding, the good stuff, that spag moss or whatever. I shred it into
The
little
New
bits
Zealand
and just mix
sphagnum
it.
moss.
Yeah,
That stuff is really good.
yeah, it is.
So
I just mix it right in.
talking to Lindsay, and he puts to keep the roots cool. Talking about keeping your trees, especially Japanese maples, they don't like their roots hot. Okay, and the problem in Southern California, we have hot weather, dry weather, and especially when you put pots this thin, they're not happy when their feet, in this case, is really warm. I do what the Japanese people do is with the sphagnum moss, they do kind of layer it to protect its roots. And I do that for insulation. It does work really well. They do enjoy having that cooler root mass, and that really, not really for spring care, but once you go into summer, that's really plays a really big key to keep your trees really healthy. I know everybody's wondering, how does your trees look in the summertime when we turn that corner in a couple months from now? They look pretty bad. I mean, they're going to look really good around up to May, and then June, July, when the Santa Ana winds really hit, that's when the trees kind of suffer. But if your tree is fertilized really well, they're really healthy. You put a lot of acidity into their fertilizer mix, they do actually pretty well. Trident does better. Trident's tried and true. They do so much better in Southern Cal. But with Japanese maple, if you can protect them from Santa Ana winds, I figured that was the main key that we have. If you can either protect it from that Santa Ana wind, or if you can keep the humidity higher, those are kind of the big deals. Ed Clark, just kind of picking his brain over and over and over, because his trees look great. If you ever been to his nursery, you know what I'm talking about. His trees look, these were his trees, but his growing conditions were great. And I had to keep figuring out what's going on. His water is awesome. His water is like 6.8, 6.4, probably the lowest I've seen it. So his water is acidic. It's clean water. And I think that's just like growing azaleas. I think that's really key. Another thing is his mix is 50% scoria, 50% washed river sand. And I'm wondering if his watering schedule, he waters in the summer twice a minute each on the spit spotters. So I'm wondering if that mix that he's using is really being conducive for his growing condition. He also has shade cloth. He has about 30% shade cloth. So, it's that combination. Overwatering. If you've been to his grounds, his summertime, it's still wet. It's almost swamp-like when you walk through it. So I'm wondering if that high humidity kind of keeps that, his trees really healthy that way. That's his growing trees. His display trees are the same way. So his benches are wet, they're really moist, and that it could be like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 100-degree heat, but it's still the high humidity. I think I really believe that water and the high humidity really makes these Japanese maple really shine, especially in Lindsay, California, which is a little drier during the summertime than we have here in Southern Cal.
you know, Tom, he also keeps them in greenhouses. He keeps his maples in the greenhouses during the hot part of the summer. So there are a lot of humidity in the air. That
He has
helps
a lot
it.
of advantages that we don't have here, especially as a hobbyist. So, you know, I'm still learning. I don't know about you guys. I'm still trying to play it out and trying to figure things out. But some of these techniques, especially the pinching, really helps out, really opening for light. That's really key. You can tell this guy's like a hedge, but I'm going to go in and really trying to pluck it out when it hardens out. I'm going to really pluck those out. And that's really key. This is why this guy's, you know, I've been blessed that this guy hasn't died on me yet. But you know, it is what it is at this point. Any questions? Those are great questions.
Hey, Tom, it's Johan here.
I'm sorry, I have a delay here.
Can you hear me, Tom?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hey, man, I have a question. I purchased, you know, when we go to Ed Clark's, got those beautiful maples. Got one from couple of from him. I have on my calendar, you know, I will keep a diary of all our trees. On my diary it says that his maples should be green by March 28th, and none of them are awakened yet. They're all sleeping still. And you have any of his trees? I'm a little bit nervous, you know what I mean? Because according to my calendar, March 28th, they're all green, and not this year. It says did I kill all of them? Oh, thank God. Oh,
So
you just made my
so
day.
Johan,
Yeah.
did you do what Tom suggested, and that was feed it in late fall?
You know what? I noticed Ed even lets his maples go to winter with fertilizer pellets. And I was thinking, wow, I have been the guy that I have my fertilizer cakes and I removed them, you know, in summer, and I put them back and I removed them back in winter. He left all that stuff there. I was like, well,
you gotta understand, Ed feeds his trees like no tomorrow. I mean, he literally feeds his trees.
Yes.
I've seen growth on his trees I've never seen anywhere else, just because their trees are so healthy and they're really well fed.
Like the one,
that's the other bit too. But don't worry. Remember, these two trees. If you remember these two trees, full sun for the last 3-4 months.
Okay.
Shade for the last 3-4 months. You can see the growth pattern. So it really depends on your microenvironment. So if your microenvironment may not getting full sun right now, it might be delayed, just like this guy. It could be your variety too. Do you know the name of the variety of your tree?
These are red corals. The red coral bark. You know, each of my tree has a little tag and a number, so I know exactly what I did every year for the last 15 years. So I was freaking out because I know in March 5th, I take them out to the full sun, and you know they are there, and all the other maples, like the the trident, they're sprouting, and you know they're still red. But I was freaking out. And what happens is, after watching Lindsay's video, great video, Lindsay, about root grafting, by the way, I followed your instructions and I grafted roots to these trees. And I'm thinking, did grafting the roots kind of like, because all the grafts are green, but not the tree itself. So I was a little bit nervous. I never done this before, but Lindsay got me inspired. I was like, heck, I'm gonna do it to improve the nebari. And anyway, so I shouldn't worry. I guess they'll come back. They'll come out. You know, I was just, you know, concerned.
Well, it is. I'm getting frost here in Upland. And this is what, March already.
Yeah.
And this is really late for our season to have frost. So you know, we just got snow and up at Mount Baldy here. So this weather conditions really confusing some trees. So it may not wake up just at this point in time. So nothing to be worried about. If it doesn't look like this, you forget to water it, I think you're pretty good.
Yeah, no, they look like, you know, the buds are red and getting swollen now. But I mean, so it's not dead. You can see, but anyway, about Lindsay, the grafting that your video, I follow your video, and and it worked beautifully. Thank you so much, by the way, Lindsay, on that one.
Well, great.
Yeah.
Any
Now,
other
I don't
questions?
know-
Be
I don't
great.
know when am I gonna cut them now. I gotta wait like a couple of years, I guess, to.
Oh, yeah, at least a year, maybe
Okay.
2.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Tom and Lindsay.
All right, so if some of you guys were talking about trident maples, here's a trident maple. The growth habits are slightly different. Okay, the growth is slightly different. Here in Southern Cal, these guys are almost bulletproof. If you're into bonsai and you don't know if you want to get a Japanese maple just because of like the up care, get a trident. I'm seriously, these guys are like bulletproof in Southern Cal. I haven't been playing with the ramification very much with these trees yet. But what I did notice is if you let them grow up, just like any like elms, you kind of let it harden off and then you cut back, you can actually get multiple of sets of ramification throughout the summer. You probably get like 3 if you feed these trees heavy enough. You actually can defoliate these trees, which means you take all the leaves off, and they'll resprout again. Don't do that to Japanese maples because sometimes you defoliate them, they don't come back until like the next season, or they won't come back at all. So it's a much more delicate tree. But the tridents, again, you can defoliate this like elms, they'll come right back. So something I would recommend. Santa Ana winds, these guys they're not really much affected by them, but you must feed them with some acidity. They do love the city, they love to be fed. And then Ed has a couple of those too. So if you need a source, I think Lindsay is growing some too, if I remember.
Hello.
Questions were good?
Tom, have you when you interview? No, that wasn't you. You interview so many people, I lose track. I'm sorry. Have you tried Spoma, the organic fertilizer? I think it's called Spoma.
Spoma, not the brand. I've done organic fertilizer on Japanese maples and tridents. The only problem with organic fertilizers, it needs to be that temperature range was optimal temperature range for organic fertilizer was 75, I believe, surface temperature, but not above 100 something. I forgot the range. It's a really specific range, especially in the colder end. If the microorganisms that won't be able to break down the organic fertilizer won't get to the tree. So when I did use organic fertilizer, when I was on my organic phase, when colder months, I would use the inorganic fertilizer, Miracle Grow, whatever is cheap at Home Depot, just to feed my trees for the wintertime. That synthetic stuff, it works day in, day out, doesn't matter the temperature. The only problem is it's not that slow fertilization, not the sudden like pump up these trees really quick. So it's kind of the play that you need to kind of look at, especially the distribution of energy.
Okay, thank you.
And those are great questions.
So one other thing you could try that works pretty good, and that is to use some of the organics at the tail end of when you're using the chemical fertilizers, and that'll help build the soil back up, keep it really rich.
You're talking about the late fall time?
Anytime. I mean, so you put it on for like
the surface stuff.
Yeah, so you put it on for like 3 months, right? So maybe it goes for the first 8 or 10 weeks, and then you come back and you put a light dose of organic fertilizer on top before you add the next dose of the chemical fertilizer.
It's amazing that fertilizer goes a long way, and then a lot of people neglect of fertilizing their trees, and it's something that we all have to do. I used to use tea bags when I was using organic fertilizers a lot. I got away from that because again, it's time consuming. It's not the cost anymore; it's just time consuming. But sometimes you'll need to do that just because if you have little rodents and that will pick up your fertilizer bags. My dogs used to pick up the fertilizer bags and look, this is great. It's a toy, and it smells like fish pellets inside. So it's kind of the play you have. Talk about fish emulsion. That stuff really works. I know Joe tried it once. I tried a couple times, but it's a smells. I'm not sure if anybody else has any other experiences with fish emulsion on all their trees.
I think it's great.
I put fish emulsion and the raccoons come home. It's this guarantee, man. Yeah.
Lindsay,
Not fun.
Lindsay, do you use fish emulsion?
I used to do it a lot, but then my dogs kind of got in there.
Yeah,
But it even worked in the winter when it was cooler.
definitely.
It worked in the cooler months.
Veggies love
Okay.
that stuff. Mhm.
So
I don't know
when
what's
you-
in fish emulsion that really works. Since I tried the seaweed extract, it didn't work as well as fish emulsion, but I just couldn't stand the smell. I don't know about you people. I just can't. I can't do this. My wife got mad at me. She's like, "What the heck did you do outside in the backyard?" Because I fed the foliage at the same time, so the whole backyard smelled like
So,
a fish market for like a day or two or three or four.
Algae smells better, but I don't see the growth as compared to fish. But yeah,
So-
it's too stinky. Yeah.
We
So,
have a guy.
Lindsay, when you apply the fish, do you mix it and pour it on?
Yeah,
With-
I pour it on.
Can?
And the reason why I like fish more than the other, like the meal type organics, is that it didn't plug up the pores and the water penetration. It just
Right.
kept that open. But if you use too much organic, it clogs all those pores up. So
Yeah.
of the
Right.
soil.
Yeah.
Right. You have to kind of scrape off the cake from the top.
Yeah.
Tommy, we have a guy here in outside of Albuquerque that is able to get cold pressed fish emulsion, and man,
No
that
smell.
stuff is an awful lot better and a lot easier to take. He claims too, he's kind of fussy, but he claims a lot of the stuff that they use for preservatives in regular fish emulsion is so it doesn't turn into even more of a disgusting mess than it already is. Are
It's
bad.
called cold press. Is that? Did I hear that
Pressed,
right? Cold
yeah.
press.
Smells like
Cold
cider.
pressed fish emulsion.
So
Doesn't have
it
much
doesn't
of a,
have the smell
not too
of,
much
like,
of
fish
an,
emulsion.
no, it doesn't have that real, yeah, like.
But
you
it's
know,
liquid, right? It's liquid.
Yes, and it's very clear. Doesn't have that kind of browny, greeny, sort of slime to it at all. It's very clear and not too heavy duty of an odor, but in fact, not hardly much odor at all compared to, the regular disgusting, stuff that the animals like. And the animals don't seem quite as attached to it either. But his reason for using it, even in what he does, is that he claims that, again, that the preservatives in fish emulsion to keep it from going, totally haywire are bad and not good for trees. So he thinks you're losing, what you gain in the fish, you lose in the mixture, in the emulsion. So
You
anyway,
don't know
but
where
we get it's expensive.
you don't know where he gets it, do you?
I'd have to check it out. No, and I'll see if I'll write it over to Lindsay when I find out. I'll talk to him this weekend probably.
Why
And
don't
I'll
you
take it
send
over to
it,
Lindsay.
why don't you send it to me and then I can send it to everyone?
Who's that, Shirley?
Yes, Shirley.
Shirley.
Okay.
And also your link to your meetings.
Yeah, okay, I can do that too.
Hey
Yeah,
Tom,
we're
is
much-
that an Ed Clark? That maple?
So if you're wondering what I'm doing here onto the tree, you can see I'm actually kind of thinning it as I see any crossing branches that I can see now. I'm trying to thin that out anywhere that I have a cluster. So ideally, you want a branch to go from a single branch to double. Trident maples and any maples, they will not just have two, sometimes they'll have four, or sometimes they'll have 5 or 6 nodes, or 6 buds coming from the same node. Ideally you want to trim that back down to 2. So that's what I'm doing right now, or anything that's crossing, anything going the wrong direction I don't want to. And then that's what I'm doing right now. So
Can you do it
going
right now?
to
Is it
3 to 2. And then anything that's long internodes, I'm cutting those off back down to the inner bud. So great time to do this right now, especially when you can see it and you know it'll bud back out.
Okay.
It's also a great time if you haven't, like I have California pepper tree in my old house. It's to kind of pick up all those seeds out. And if you have any dead leaves, of course you want to do that at the same time. If you guys have any questions, just kind of speak it out loud. Joe will probably relay it to me, or someone else can pick it up while I'm trimming here.
So you can cut you can do that right now as the maple grows. There's no danger of is any color I have to watch for, or you just not really, just kind of like, it's just my maples are like growing too fast, you know, like the ones that are growing and I
do they look like this?
Yeah,
now?
right.
I mean, they look like a giant bush.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
All right. So if you want to trim them back now, you can. I usually at this point, if they're at this stage and they're just letting go, I'm just gonna let them thicken up just to get some bulk. If you look at this tree during the wintertime, most of the branches are really, really fine. I just want to add a little more bulk to it before I kind of hedge them back really hard.
Okay.
But
I repotted this year, Tom, everything. So I just want to leave. It was going to be a year, just let everything grow because everything was repotted. So I didn't want to touch it. I don't know.
Again, if you let these guys grow out, the inner buds will die out, and then you have nothing to cut back till later. So that's kind of the danger of letting these guys just really grow out, because this guy will be like a hedge. If I didn't touch this one, it'll be a full hedge. All the inner growth will be dead. So that's kind of some things you need to really worry about, especially with tridents, maples, when they have these really big, heavy canopies like this. Again, you want to go back and be able to thin that out and be able to see through them. That negative space. Talking about the art part of it. Let me move this guy out of the way.
Those are beautiful trees, by the way, Tom. Yeah, very nice.
Just be able to see pads, the negative space in some trees, gives that perception of depth, and that's kind of important. As Takshimasu said, it says dango, you know, the round ball shape. It looks really healthy, or the samurai helmet. It looks a really cool shape, that the silhouette of it. But when you don't have that negative space, it doesn't drive that perception that this is like a real tree, or you can see through the tree and kind of see the branch structure. And that's kind of the sexy part about Japanese maple, to be able to see that leaf structure and that branch structure at the same time with that negative space. Same thing what you see in like these really refined black pines, when you kind of see those pads and you see that negative space. That's really cool. And that you can do almost the same thing with Japanese maples, but with these delineations of the negative spaces.
Right. Thank you.
Question, Tom. Can you hear me? Yeah. So if I was to water my growing Japanese maples, they're just in growing pots, once a week with Miracle Grow acidic, will that make it too acidic? Just because you were mentioning to go a little bit acidic with Japanese maples, how often should I introduce acidic fertilizer? You see what I mean?
Is this tree in the ground or is it in a pot?
No, pot, just growing pot.
You're talking about a 2 gallon pot?
Just growing them to become big, basically. They are
Say
like,
one more time. I can't hear you. One more time.
They would be in 15-gallon growing.
2 gallons. Okay. Stick it in the ground. That you can't beat some of the ground growing. Some of the advantage of growing the ground, especially if you want a quicker developed tree, stick in the ground. It's almost bulletproof. If you can't stick in the ground, Ed Clark says stick it on the ground. I think that's I think that advantage of sticking on the ground where the roots kind of grow through the pot. I think that's an advantage. Are you going, well, again, are you going, well, how thick is, again, how long term are you looking at these trees too? So if you're growing a tree right now, are you growing it for like 15 years down the road, 20 years down the road? Deciduous trees, unlike black pines or conifers, they take a long time for that ramification and really that building that structure. It takes years. I think when I bought this from Ed, Ed said this was one of the mother trees he had. And he had this tree at least for about 25 or 30 years as a like cutting from a cutting. And then he actually takes cuttings from his tree. So, so I mean, really depends where you want to go with it too.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. Thanks.
Sorry, I was like,
No,
deciduous is, you know, I'm finding out deciduous are some of those trees that you really appreciate because of time, and something that you can't really rush. I mean, something like this takes time for it to develop, and unlike sometimes like conifers, you kind of can trick the eye a little bit by bending these heavy branches. You can't really bend heavy branches on these on deciduous trees just because they'll just crack. I mean, you don't have that advantage with conifers. Conifers, you can really start bending. If you ask Tom Vong, you see he bends massive branches. So you do have that advantage with conifers versus deciduous, but you can't beat time. I mean, time is our our currency that we use in bonsai, especially with deciduous trees.
thank you.
Any other questions? Those are great. I'm going to keep trimming. If you guys have anything you guys want to talk about, some maples, tridents, we got into fertilizer. We got into a little bit of soil science a little tonight.
Tom, can you hear me?
Go ahead, Mike.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah? Tom, you have kind of a quizzical look on your face. Tom, can you hear me? No? Oh, well.
Go for it.
Oh, okay. So when you were talking about the trident maple, were you also recommending the pinching out the centers or letting it grow? Because it seemed like you definitely were talking about the Japanese maples.
I have not played with the trident maples as intensely as the Japanese maples, and the Japanese maple have a lot more documentation of the shorter internodes. I can't attest to the trident maples just yet. I haven't applied that same technique to trident maples yet. So, Michael, I can't answer that question. And there's not much research out there on trident maples on their growth habits as intensely as Japanese maples.
I was just curious because that's what I do. I pinch out the centers on my tridents.
Is the internode shorter? Because you can tell these internodes.
Oh yeah,
they're ginormous on mine.
They're enormous on yours?
Well, I'm going a new leader out. So, I mean, these internodes are pretty long because I kind of let them kind of grow out. And this is probably, this is a second defoliation on this guy from last year. So it's a little straggly because I want that length to grow out.
Okay. So here's the thing. As soon as they start growing, as soon as they produce the center, you take it out.
So the same thing as Japanese maples. And does that shorten the internodes?
I'm sorry?
Does that shorten the internodes for the first set?
Because the next two that come out, you do the same thing to it. And your internodes don't extend. They get nice and tight and you get beautiful ramification.
I gotta try it. Oh, I don't have enough. And the thing is, I have enough Japanese maples now that I can kind of experiment with it. I only have like 3 trident maples that I have. I got a couple in the ground still, but I don't have enough to like, and that's kind of important about quantities. I know we talk about quality of trees, but you might have enough quantity of trees to really play with some of the microenvironments and some of the techniques that you have, and you would not care about your trees like suffering because you have multiple trees. So if you're a beginner out there, it's okay to buy like 15 trees. Mike Kelly, it's okay. But you want to have enough trees that you can start experimenting. And if you screw up, you're like, oh, well, it's not your only tree. You got a couple of trees kind of play with. So thank you, Michael, for, I'm going to try with one of these trees. I'm going to try and see if I can push the internodes back, but because I know they will, if you defoliate, they will push back. So you probably get multiple growth. That's true.
Yeah. You can go from where you're at now with that trident and cut them back hard. And where you cut them, they will produce 2 growths, and you can go forward from that point. And if the first internode's too long, you cut it back to the trunk, leaving a stub. Yep.
You know what? Let's have some fun.
That's a beautiful trident, Tom. Is that what is that? Let me see.
Tom, before you start, Tom.
Go for it.
Push all the way in. So
I know. I'm gonna do. I'm a
no.
I'm a chicken like most of you guys. I actually take it first set so I don't screw up, and I'll take it back again.
You know, one thing is just kind of an easy way of thinking about it is you can, as long as you're consistent in doing this, is you could trim the inner node, the new growth back to the distance of the inner node you like to keep it at. So,
right.
You know, sometimes it's a couple buds, or sometimes it's 3 buds. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. As they begin to grow, the further out they go, the longer the inner node is.
Exactly.
Right. So you could just keep it at the inner node length you want it, and just think of it that way instead of counting buds.
Hey Tom, will those, like, if you put some root hormone on those, will they grow at this time of the year? Like, can you propagate right now?
Say it one more time.
Yeah,
Oh,
like you see all those little pieces that you're cutting.
Yeah, cuttings.
Yeah,
Oh,
those
they
cuttings.
grow
Like,
fast.
I know it's a little bit late, but can you still put some root
I
hormone?
wouldn't, because these are soft. I mean, these haven't hardened off. But if you just wait about maybe a couple of weeks later, maybe around May, you probably can make cuttings out of these. But tridents you can grow from seed really easily. It just, if you can find a source for seeds, you stratify them in the refrigerator for like a month or two, and then you can put them in the ground. They sprout like no tomorrow. They're pretty forgiving for to grow from propagate from seed.
You can also make cuttings out of that 1-year-old stuff, like your leader right there. If you were to take it right below the first set of buds there, because it's one year.
You mean the main one? That
Yeah,
big one? Okay.
That big leader. If you wanted to take it right below where those 2 buds are, then you could probably cut it off at maybe the second set of inner nodes up, and get it to get it to
Do
root.
you guys normally do that, or kind of like air layer it, or what do you guys do? Like,
Depends on the size of the branch.
oh, okay. Right, I guess depends what you want to do.
Air layers are fun.
Yeah, I'm still afraid of that stuff, believe it or not.
If you haven't air layered, I think that's a really easy technique for Japanese maples and trident maples, to shorten your trunk line or even to get a new tree. I think it's an awesome technique to use.
I'm gonna try this year. What month is that? July? No, June? Forget.
For what? For
air
layering?
sorry, for air layering.
Lindsay, when do you like to air layer trident maples?
Is it like summerish kind of thing?
April, May?
Sounds about right. Yeah.
Lindsay?
They generally say when the leaves harden off.
Right.
Okay. Whenever
Lindsay has left the building.
Yeah,
I'm here.
Getting a snack.
I had to get a snack.
Did your wife cook you snacks? I'm jealous. You
like-
know that, right?
I got some, I
Hey,
got some See's candy.
Lindsay, how's your maple? That beautiful one that you I remember seeing it in Christmas. You put it on the mantle.
That's a hornbeam.
That was a
Oh,
hornbeam.
that's a hornbeam. My bad.
Yeah, it was a hornbeam.
Thought it was a maple. My bad.
Yeah, Korean hornbeam.
That's a beautiful tree.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's just, it has like a presence. I don't know how to explain. Like I saw, it's like, wow, like it has a personality. Can you say that? I don't know. Yeah.
That's a compliment. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a very beautiful tree. Very beautiful tree. Yeah.
Tom, is that foil for air layering on the bottom?
The foil for aerating on the bottom.
Oh, no. So this is a root over, I can actually expose it. This is actually a root over rock. Can you guys see the base, or let me
Oh,
check the
nice.
camera lens? Oh, you guys can see it real quick. So this was a root over rock. I can actually, let me, this has been a year now. So last year I repotted this tree in the ground, and then I found out some of the root structure did not touch. I cut the pot too short. So I cut the pot really short. Oh, look at this. There are bugs living here. Look at that. Look, they're running free. So this was a root over rock.
What
Bring
is
it
that?
close to the,
Is that foil
Bring-
tape?
Say it one more time.
Is that foil tape?
It was foil tape because that's the only thing I had in the house.
Ah, okay.
For air
I
conditioning.
usually, if I had the right materials, I would use like the packing tape.
Mhm.
The clear
Oh.
packing tape actually works really, really well to keep the moisture in. But
Is it
actually
hard
looks
when
pretty
you
nice
pull
now.
it
Look
off?
at that. Look at the
Wow.
bugs. Let me kill some of these
Good.
bugs. You didn't see the bugs. Some of the rootage didn't touch the soil line. So what I did is extended that pot to get that water line. But it's there's some chunk. Look at that.
That came
So,
out very cool. Like, is it you can you see the roots actually going into the rock? Like, very nice. Oh, there you go. That's nice, man. Is that like a volcanic rock kind of thing? That is pretty neat.
Like volcanic rock.
It's volcanic rock. So funny story about this. So this tree actually came from Ed Clark.
That's very nice. Look at
This
this
is
tree.
probably like good 6-7 years ago. What we found out that this rock
You see how I put it
is the same rock, the same basalt actually. It comes from the same spot that Joe found a spot out in, was that the 40 freeway, Joe? Yeah, but right by it was a Bakersfield. No, not Bakersfield. Barstow.
Half an hour from Barstow.
So it was about half an hour from Barstow. The funny part is Ed and I we're like comparing GPS locations. I said, "Hey, I'll show you my rock location if you show me yours." And we were like literally about a couple feet apart from each other when we GPSed it. So if you guys want to go rock, and we got great stories about rock hunting for you guys. So here's a story. It's not a. So Lindsay I think we're doing the intermediate class with Lindsay, and we're doing a rock root over rock. And Lindsay says, go look for some rocks that we can glue together. So Joe takes us out to I don't know, this high desert looking for rocks. We were picking up rocks and I say, "Hey Joe, let's go to the median." Okay, mind you, this freeway, there's no cars. I mean, there's literally absolutely no cars out there. We were picking rocks out of the freeway median. Okay, no accident, no nothing. We run across a 2-lane highway. There's no one there. We pick up these rocks. The cop pulls over and says, "Hey, buddies, you can't do that. That's dangerous. There's an exit down the street. Go out the street and go pick rocks all you want there. Okay, get out of the street there." You literally escorted us off the freeway. There's no one there. This is how bad bonsai artists will do to get free materials.
Cool. And they're like volcanic rocks laying around there?
Yeah.
Like volcanic rocks laying around, like that kind of rock, like just on the street, like on the. Where were you guys again?
Take the 40. That's about a half an hour. Let's get.
And it's a volcanic scar. So the backside of the Sierra Nevadas, they used to be volcanically active. And so if you Google Earth, so if you like doing armchair searching, I do that a lot sometimes. If you use Google Earth to look, you'll see these giant black scars right by the 43 on the backside of the Sierra Nevada, especially right behind us, behind the 15. You'll see these like black, like it looks like lava flows, and that's what they are, and that's what these black basalt rocks come from.
Oh,
And
wow.
you got Amboy Crater out there too, huh, Tommy? I mean, there's a volcano sitting right there at Amboy.
Very cool.
Yeah, if you go further down, so if we have our field trip this year, I mean, it looks like we might actually have one during the fall. there's a volcanic scar called Fossil Falls. And right next to Fossil Falls, there are really fine scoria. I mean, literally, it's like, was it Shohin size scoria? I was literally like, if I had a bucket, I would just put it in a bucket and call it a day. But we're kind of blessed. It's a black volcanic scoria too. So if we're ever go back out for a field trip, you know, I'll show you the spot too if you need a free scoria.
Cool.
All right, guys. I think we're getting close to time here. Any other questions before we go into our raffle for tonight? And then I think we have what, 4 items. Shirley, is that correct for raffle tonight?
One last
Yes.
one last obscure thing, Tom.
Go for it.
Is that a narrow branch, a concave cutter? Oh, no, I don't think so. Back on your table, the best tool I have ever found yet for working on deciduous trees is one of those ultra narrow kuakiri, you know, a concave cutter. I got one from Japan, a Masakuni from Japan. And man, that is the best tool for working on. I have tons of elms.
Is that the flat one? Not this is like the regular.
They do have
Masakuni, like,
have that.
Is that the flat one? That
big.
really flat one?
I've tried that, and that works pretty good too. But this is the one that has a really small head, about the size of your little finger, you know, and it's a concave cutter, but it is very small and narrow. And you know, Masakuni's got them. You can get them all the way down to Tian on, you know, like on Amazon or something, Chinese made, you know, which are pretty good. I mean, I think they're stainless and they're decent tools. But man, that helped me in working in among twigs and
I actually, we'll talk about tools. I do like this variety of Masakuni. I think this is like 228B, I think size B. I have small hands,
yep.
And it fits comfortably. But the blade, unlike this is the bud printer,
right?
It's a little thicker.
Yep.
And I can literally cut bigger branches. So
that's a nice
this
tool.
is like one of the tools I can just keep going without dropping the tool and moving on to a different tool. I thought this was kind of like the better tool that I would use. This is my go-to tool all the time now.
Yeah, nice.
I used to use this a lot, but the tip is not as robust as the 228B on this one. So something I really enjoy is this guy.
Can I make an observation?
Go for it.
When I listened to Ryan Neal, and he had a soil scientist on, someone that worked at the university with fertilizers, and he recommended, and I tried, ocean gold, which is ocean lysate. It's crab, and another one which is kelp. And the crab only smells the first day, and then you don't smell it anymore. It's not like the strong fish stuff that every time you walk outside and you just get impacted with it. But this Pacific Northwest Organics is the name of the company.
Wait, what's the weather this week? Like this weekend?
It's supposed to be really warm tomorrow.
Yeah.
Has anybody here made like fertilizer cakes before?
I did. I do.
Yeah.
Is it worth the trouble? Because I'm to the point, like, you know, do I want to make? I'm really lazy. I'm sorry to tell you that I'm just shorter on time now, so I just kind of use the granular stuff. I kind of sprinkle and go. But I see people make these cakes. I'm like, is that really worth the effort?
Tom, I like the idea because I'm a John Naka fan, right? And I love these books and I love John Naka. But my God, it's time consuming, right? It is a lot of time. So what I did this year is I took mosquito screen and I cut little circles, little cylinders, and a bottom. This is a lot of work. And I actually put, you know what I'm talking about, I see your face. And I put the organic fertilizer directly from the box into those mosquito nets. So just the little powder and some bacteria falls into it, but not the main stuff. And I close the caps of the little baskets. But you know what happens, right? Once the bacteria start becoming active, I didn't calculate it enough. so it expands and it pops everything up. So, again, it is hours of planning, and it is. I like the idea that I can remove the whole thing when I don't want more fertilization, like in summer, and put it back in winter. You know what I mean? I like that very much, because if I just pour stuff, I can pick it out. You know, the tree is gonna get food all the time, but it is like, I think you mentioned this at the beginning. It is time consuming. You know, cutting, drying, mixing. So at this point, I don't know if it's worth it, to be honest with you. You tell me. I don't know if I answered your question. Actually, I had another question.
I don't think it's worth it.
Yeah.
I don't think so either. Lindsay, you remember?
Says the owner of a nursery. I should listen to him.
Lindsay, do you remember Lindsay making that stuff at cons? We used to, back in the, I think, early 70s, we used to mix blood meal, bone meal.
Oh God, yes.
And cottonseed meal together.
Oh yeah. Oh
yes.
yeah.
Yep.
And we'd have to use flour a lot of times because it wouldn't
hold it up together. Yeah.
Yeah, and we'd mix that crap up and cut those little pucks out of it once it got dry. The problem with that is, boy, that if you think cottonseed meal and fish meal are attractive to animals, boy, you don't even want to talk about blood meal.
No.
I mean,
Yeah.
I used blood meal at my old ranch place in Capitan, New Mexico. And I had a dog, and he pulled every tree out of the pot.
Oh my!
I came home one night, and they were all laying on the ground, every single one of them. And Con's little dogs, Con had those 3 little dogs, and they used to root around in that stuff if they had a chance. And the other thing I don't like about them is even if you have a cap on there, which now I think everybody would have to have, or maybe tea bags would be better. But if you just put those things on the ground, after a week or two, you can look at it. All of a sudden, they'll start moving. And if you break them open,
I love the way you said it.
Of maggots,
maggots, yeah,
beautiful maggots. And if you don't break them open, all of a sudden they'll really start moving. And here will come one of those beautiful neon green flies coming, barreling out of that.
Weird mold. You're right. I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's more trouble than it's worth, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. I have to agree.
I think I opened a can of worms with fish cakes or with a fertilizer cakes.
No. Well,
is Greg in the room?
Though.
Is Greg in the meeting?
Yep.
Hey, Greg, are you there? Put a thumbs up.
Yep, I'm here.
Oh, great. Let's do the raffle right now. I think Shirley, we have a total of 4 prizes. Is that correct?
Yes.
Let's get a couple people last minute to purchase raffle tickets. We like to purchase raffle tickets. The links are in the chat if you like to purchase right now. We'll give you a couple more minutes to do that if you like.
How much for that trident, Tom?
One day,
I wanted to see your new house anyway, so.
My house is not even close. My goodness, I barely get the bathroom. Trying to get the floors in. Trying to get the bonsai area done. Still trying to get rid of the place that it's a lot of work. By the way, I have a sprinkler, automatic sprinkler video coming soon from the old house, but I got to put that in this house too. It's just a lot of work, and it's survival. Like this guy, I have a pot for this guy already, but I just didn't get around to it. So as everybody keeps saying, it's okay. Another year outside the pot. It's just a year delay for display, but one day this guy will be ready. It's not yet. I probably have another 5 more years before it's even closer to be display.
Well, I don't know. That ramification looks pretty neat to me, but I don't know.
Oh, by the way, this guy did not lose his leaves all winter long. I literally had to pluck them off.
Really? Huh. Is that what is that? That's not a red coral bark, right? What is that? No. What kind of maple?
Say one more time.
What kind of maple is that? I cannot.
This one's a Kashima. So Kashima, it's a more upright. So most of the structure will go up, and I have to bend them down. So that's this variety. The other variety you saw was Shishio Hime, which has a more horizontal growth. The lower branches on that variety, especially with Kyuhime, has it was it a lower branch dominant? It doesn't have a atypical apex
growth.
dominant and those
Okay.
varieties. This guy has a apex dominant. So you kind of have to play the variety as best suited for each one. These guys, the branches are not as brittle as any of the Shishiohime or the Kiyohimes. I mean, you just look at them wrong and they just snap. So
Really?
kind of got to play with the varieties that you got.
Do you have any, what is it called? My Japanese is not good. Is it Kashigashira? Kashigashira. It's like a lion something.
So I've been trying to get a variety of Shishigashira because the growth difference. So you know how we pinch regular Japanese maples so we get it to ramify.
Yes.
Shishigashira, it's really interesting. The nodes, they don't expand. So what they do in Japan
like clouds,
is
right?
they
Like
do the
clouds?
opposite of pinching. They actually, instead of so let me grab a volunteer really quick.
Okay.
So in Japan, what they do, so the Shishigashira would actually elongate its nodes. They would actually pinch the first two leaves away and leave the center growth to punch out. So it's the opposite. Literally, it's the opposite of what you do in all Japanese maples. But in Shishigashira, they do the opposite of that one. They punch it. They remove the first two leaves to force the inner node to stretch out.
I did not know that.
It's because they're so tight.
They're because they're so tight, and they do the same thing with. They don't really use what is it, Makawa Yatsubutsa, which is another really tight inner node growth of bonsai, Japanese maple as bonsai. But I was trying to pick one from Ed. He wouldn't sell it to me yet. But I wanted just to play with the idea of reversing that pinching method to elongate those growths. So they do that with Shishigashira. They do that with Makawa Yatsubutsa. And that's how they get those inner growth links to grow. Ed's saying that he will spend almost a good decade growing canes long enough where he can graft onto other trees for those two varieties.
He'll spend a decade.
Just because the lengths are so short. If you understand, if you have a Shishigashira or a Makawa Yatsubutsa, the inner node links are really tight. And he says it's almost impossible to cut them or to get the length to grow long enough so you can actually cut them.
That's interesting. I did not know that.
To make cuttings or to make grafts.
Yeah.
Lindsay, can you repeat that again?
Yeah, not cutting the grass, excuse me.
Sorry.
Greg, are we ready for the raffle, Greg?
I missed Lindsay's comment.
Good.
Oh, Tom was talking about making those long enough so he could get grafting stock.
And then what did you say? I missed what you said. I wanted to hear what you said. I'm sorry. Also.
I think that's what I mentioned.
Okay, good. I thought I said good. Thank you, Tom, and thank you, Lindsay. All right, raffle time, babe.
I'm going to shoot it over to you, Tom.
Good demo, Tom.
Yes, Tom. Thank you so much, man. That's awesome stuff.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. Very, very good.
Thanks, Tom. Your trees are looking really great.
Thank you, everybody. Greg, do you have the
Just sent it over.
on chat?
I just texted to you.
Oh, can you put it on chat for me really quick?
Sure.
And then everybody can confirm that has it. So
There's only 2 people.
oh, awesome.
Oh, really? That's when she kind of.
Well, we're gonna have some great winners tonight. I'll tell you that. Thank you, everybody, for being patient tonight. Lizzie disappeared, I see.
It was a good place.
Another snack.
Another snack.
I got an otter pop.
That's awesome. Look, Lisa got a come on, they need to see the young kids interested in bonsai. Come on, guys, Raffle Time.
Hey, Greg, can you give me the names, who and how many? I can see the process up here. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm just
Just trying
trying
to be
to.
loud so you can see you guys.
Four for Johan, one for me.
Got it. Anybody else? Last call?
I think Tom is raffling his trident maple.
I could. I mixed it today. I'm done playing with it.
I was kidding. I really want that maple, man.
Someone's batting on you.
Just the cuttings.
Just the cunning, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, toss
Oh,
those
there
in
it
the raffle.
There it is.
This is spinny thing.
All right. Gus, how many and who? Johan?
Ooh.
Oh, it's the wheel of names.
It's a wheel name.
Four for Johan.
Four for
You're
Johan. Excellent.
You're such a teacher, Tom. Tom,
Look at that.
you
Hey,
took the
look at the
wheel.
icon in the middle. Look at the icon in the middle, baby.
Because we only, I guess, apparently we only, but.
Greg, and then how many for Gus?
I don't see any for Gus. Did you get a last minute in there?
I don't know.
Gustavo.
Gus didn't buy tickets. I find that impossible to believe. He
Yeah, I
always
didn't
buys
get any
like
tickets,
$300. Hey, Gus. Hey, there you are, buddy.
Hi, sorry guys. No, I was doing something else. And, I'm building something right now, but no, didn't get any tickets.
Not a problem.
Finally, have a chance against Gus.
That's it. Is that it? Is that correct, Johan? Sorry, Greg. Is that correct? Four for Johan, one for Greg. That's it. No mas.
We're good to go. Do it.
All righty. Let's spin the wheel. Let me shuffle. If fair. Shirley, what's the
My
first?
wife goes, if you don't win, that's it.
If Greg wins, something's going on here. This is
There she
great.
is. There she is.
Shirley, what's up for grabs first?
I don't know. I can't see.
Sure, no problem.
I would make a joke. I tell my students, "Open your eyes. It's okay. Stop smiling." I say it all the time. The kids don't get the joke. I'm like, oh.
Here it is. All right. The first prize is a blue round pot.
Blue round pot. Wow. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
We got it up in the chat.
Greg won. What?
It's up in the chat.
If Greg wins, it'd be amazing.
I'm gonna win every single one.
Yay!
Johan won that one. Yay! Johan won that one. Congratulations. Johan wins the blue pot. That one.
Oh,
All right. This is kind of actually interesting because you see the odds of Greg winning. It's 1 in 4 right now. What's the next
better
item?
than roulette.
He looks like a lucky guy, so.
It's a white small rectangle.
A white small rectangle.
You got a piece of paper there, Greg, if you win.
A piece of paper. That's awesome. Shirley, this time I'm going to your house. I'm not going. I'm not going to the Arboretum, man. I'm just driving to your house next to my house.
Okay.
Hey!
Johan again. Woo-hoo! Okay.
Winner, chicken dinner. Got a 33.33%
This is a 1/3 chance that Greg could win something. What's the next item?
33.33%.
Next one is an elm.
Ooh.
Uh-oh.
Ooh.
A big elm in a 5-gallon pot.
No whammy. No whammy.
Oh, come on.
So
I've been
close.
robbed.
It's Johan again.
That's messed up.
That's messed up.
Is this the last item, Shirley?
It's a ground cover from Mike.
Ground cover from Mike.
Guns, I thought you said a cover from Guns N' Roses.
This, you can win this one, baby.
Greg.
Oh, look at that.
Good job, buddy.
Greg?
Finally.
Awesome. Is that it, Shirley?
Yes, it is.
Yay! Johan,
Hey,
you
very
nothing
good.
else.
It's about time.
We'll have a next meet. I think we have our next meeting next month will be April. I live at home. I have not left the house. The only person I saw lately was Alex and Haiti. And this guy, he lives like down the street from me. Next month we'll probably have round robin for next month. So bring your questions. Get ready for that. Unless someone else has an idea for a demo idea. Other than that, thank you everybody tonight for coming out and having some fun with everybody. And maybe coming soon, we might be see everybody face to face.
Hey, maybe I can make bamboo fountains as a demo. That's what I do for fun.
Hey, you want to make one for me? Because I need one.
Yeah, I'll make one for you. I have tons under the house. Just give me the size.
Large.
He
I'll give it to
he
you
needs
for
a
free.
big bamboo.
Yeah.
Don't forget. What's his face? Bob Pressler's having a sale this weekend, March 19th and 20th. I think was all bonsai stuff are 20% off. Pots are 15, I think, and then bonsai stuff are 10% off. So I'm going Saturday just to film and cut some bamboo. So Johan, I'm getting some bamboo ready for that. So
great.
on that,
Man. Anytime. So who's having the sale?
Bob Pressler.
Oh, Bob, where is he at? I forgot.
Kimura Bonsai on
Northridge.
on Roscoe.
Is Shirley probably already did, knowing her. She probably sent the email. You know, she's like
No, I do
on top.
know.
He just announced it. He just announced it today on Facebook, probably around 3 o'clock.
Okay.
When is it?
This Saturday and Sunday.
Check the chat.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna go on Sunday then for sure. I can't Saturday, but
I'm gonna buy everything. Too bad. Haha. I'll bring Alex with me. Alex, I'll just jump in the car. You're just down the street.
alrighty. Well, guys.
Yeah,
it
John
was-
just put it
it
up
was
in the
great
chat. He's
seeing
got
you.
the address too.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hey, Tom,
Tom,
can I
great
show
great
you,
demo, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Tom,
very.
can I show you a flowering plant before you go?
Go
Yes.
for it.
Yeah, go for it. I can
This
always
is a
do it.
Korean cherry. Got it at Pressler's years ago.
I don't see you. Let me scroll up and down.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
Turn off your screen sharing.
I am trying. You know, I'm not used to Zoom. I don't use Zoom. I use WebEx.
How do I ping you? Oh, here we go.
Whoa, hello, I see.
Wow, man. What is that? Look at that.
Oh, wow,
Oh,
beautiful.
wow, that's gorgeous.
How much you want for it, Mike?
Not yet. I'm growing.
Beautiful.
That is beautiful. Perfect time of the year too. Like I feel like in Japan or something. That's great.
Is that a cherry
No,
on it
man,
right now?
Korea. What you talking about? It's a Korean tree.
Is that a cherry on it right now?
Yeah, it's a cherry.
Was that from last season?
Yeah, right.
Is that a what?
$10, $19.95.
$30.
Do I hear more?
$19.95. That's all I can afford. My wife is home, so you know I can't really like say the true number I want to say.
I'm gonna head out. My battery's dying. Thank you
Awesome.
so much.
That's a beautiful tree.
Yeah, very
Awesome.
nice.
And they grow really slow. Tiny flowers.
That's a beautiful tree. Wow, that's cool.
All right, everybody. Good night. If you guys have anything else, we'll see you guys later.
Good night.
Hey,
Thank
Tom.
you for showing us that
Good
tree.
night, Tom.
Wonderful.
Everybody stay well.
Hey, Tom,
See you guys.
if you see one of those at Pressler's, let me know.
Well, Pressler was selling them.
Right.
Yeah. What? How many years ago?